Well,
at the same time, he didn't come out touting the stuff that he was saying. Like Max kind of aired his dirty laundry a little bit, so you just got to be careful in general.
Yeah.
Like,
and Lewis's wasn't even crazy, so I don't want to paint him as a bad guy to start off. I'm just gonna read through the penalties, and then we can kind of talk about the incidents that brought up those penalties, which all happened within the first lap.
A handful of them.
Whoa, what do you mean? What shouldn't have happened?
This shouldn't have been a yellow flag to begin with. We should have been in a safety car.
to kind of continue on with the amount of penalties that were being given out, did the news race director just have a button that he pressed for like a penalty button?
Dude, it was
10 seconds.
It was
10
every
seconds.
like.
I made a
It
joke.
was almost
like,
every 10 seconds. That
Yeah.
there was a
Pretty much.
notification.
There's another
This
notification.
incident is being looked at. This incident has now been.
we went from Vegas,
oh
which
my
is
God.
relatively chill, to this, which was insanity in terms of the FAA stepping
different
in.
race director.
And laced up.
Let's go.
It's time for Banter with the boys.
Yo, welcome back to Banner with the Boys Fast Laps, where we got the Qatar recap and the Abu Dhabi preview. I have the wrong title on our sheet, so it threw me off. I almost said the exact same title as last week. But, Mike, welcome back.
Hi.
We're happy to have you back this week. Interesting race for Haas, but
Yep. It was a race.
it was a race. I think everybody could agree with that one. But, Joe, what's going on this week?
I don't know, man.
What is life? What are you more
Exactly.
disappointed about? The race, or
I think
where
I'm-
you're at in the standings? Banner the boys.
I don't.
That's a touchy subject.
Oh my gosh. I'll kind of like. Well, I'll get into that soon as well. But like, it was a really good race. It was just, in my opinion, a horrible result. I just,
A horrible
I'm
result.
right there with you.
I mean, yeah, just not what I wanted the result to be. Given
You didn't
how-
want
how,
Max to win, or what do you mean? Just a result overall. Like,
Usually,
yeah, I mean, that's the general
yeah, I would
consensus
say
on the
result
show.
overall. I mean, yeah, I was hoping for something a little bit different, I guess. I think I was definitely looking at this week as like maybe like a good rush of points from predictions, and I just watched like lap by lap as my predictions fell like crumbled to pieces. Yeah, it was rough. It was rough. But hey, I'm really happy to be here. We have a lot to talk about. I love doing this with you boys. So
Yeah,
I'm happy.
I can't believe we're even saying Abu Dhabi right now. Like we know
End
that's
of the
the end of the
season.
season.
It's crazy. It went by so quickly.
For sure. So, with that, let's head right into our Qatar recap. And to start it off, before we even get into the GP, really, which is just pure chaos and carnage, if you will. Carnage! Yeah, so that just threw me off. I haven't done that in forever. Sprint, Joe. You want to take us through this kind of chaotic sprint? I missed it.
You know what?
And I missed quali, so I'm no use to this week.
I would love to take you through the sprint.
Yeah,
Do you want to know why? Because I would have gotten
Why?
3 points
Oh.
if it was the sprint results that we were going through.
Let's take it easy.
And Lawson was looking good most of that sprint too. Checo, I think he pulled ahead at the end, but
Neither one looked good in the GP.
no,
but we'll get
God,
there.
no, yeah.
Yeah.
But sprint was, I mean, it was a team game for McLaren. Like Lando was obviously faster, but he kept on pulling back to get Oscar that DRS to keep away from Russell, and they kept him 1-2 because of it. And then right at the end, he asked what the gap was and if it was possible to swap with Oscar so he could give him that win for the trade off in Brazil sprint. Yeah, in the Brazil sprint.
Yeah.
McLaren, the team said, no, don't do it. It's fine. Just finish the race. Lando went and did it anyway. Gave Oscar, cut right in front of George and finished the race 1-2 still. The closest sprint we've ever had because of that. So, I mean, a huge team game for McLaren. Like,
Yeah.
I love seeing that. You really don't see that a lot coming from other teams. I think they're fighting each other a lot more. McLaren they're in a weird situation because Lando was so far ahead and Oscar kind of had to help him out a little bit more.
Right.
But I mean, name one other team that plays a team game like that, really.
Yeah, nobody right now.
Yeah.
Now in the sprints, they don't get any points at all towards constructors, right?
No, they do.
Or is it?
All
Oh,
the
they
po-
do.
the
still.
points-
They
the
do
points
still.
they get.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's just
I thought it was just driving.
1 through 8 is just count the points down.
And no
It's like-
fastest lap point.
Yeah.
Right.
And no
right,
fast
right.
lap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Russell was incredibly, and we'll talk more about. There's a lot to say about Russell this week, but Russell's upset that they were playing the team game. That thought he came out with like, it's just not entertaining for the fans. I'm over here thinking like, this is
This is
cool,
incredible.
right?
Yeah, that
like
was
think
so
of
much
like the prowess you have to have in the car to be able to pull off a swap right before the checkered flag. I know, like I praise
they
Lando
would've
all the time,
wrecked?
but exactly,
Yeah, right,
Like,
that's-
what if Russell got the
pure
jump on
insanity.
Lando, right? Then it's a 1-3, and that sucks.
Yeah.
Like they executed it beautifully.
And it's a slightly different conversation with the McLarens and where Ferrari is right now and
Yeah.
the constructors, but
Yeah. So I was incredibly happy with the sprint. I thought it was a really cool race. All I have to say are like, the McLarens. Russell was very fast though. He was keeping up with Oscar the entire race. Had a few looks onto him, but just could not make it stick because Lando kept on giving Oscar that DRS. Now, if he wasn't giving Oscar that DRS, Russell takes it 100%.
But like you said, I don't know how that's not interesting to the fans. Like that's awesome teamwork. Like
Right.
literally giving him DRS to catch up. Like,
Yeah.
I mean that's
I think maybe like
That's
on the
next
surface level. Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Maybe just to get the constructors this year. And again, I'm on the camp that 2025 is going to be different
Yes.
for McLaren.
Yes.
And the whole team mentality might not exist potentially
yeah.
for me. But
Did you watch this? You watched the sprint.
Yeah.
Okay,
for
so
sure.
I'm obviously wearing a McLaren hat. I'm a bit biased. You have a little bit of
clearly.
bias towards McLaren as well, but you can like
Why?
On a surface level, it probably is nice to see Russell maybe fighting up there a little bit more.
Right.
But on a next level, like I said, the team game that Lando is playing, it's just interesting to watch.
It was. I personally loved it because like seeing like we know Lando had that pace because Lando would just accidentally pull ahead of them, right?
Yeah.
And be like, oh well, I guess I need to pull back a little, and like that was really fun. Like watching them coordinate together and watch how basically they could use team tactics to hold off George. Like I don't know. I think George is just a little salty that he couldn't get ahead, and so he was just looking for something to complain about.
Yeah, but
Which is
dabba do.
fine. Yabba dabba do.
becoming
Oh,
the
boy.
new the new weekly whiner.
The new weekly
Ooh,
one.
The
man.
new weekly whiner. George Russell.
Hashtag the weekly whiner.
Hashtag the
Gotta be
weekly
careful.
whiner.
Don't want to take that away from Verstappen.
He's too busy winning. Right
And
Wait,
then
about quali.
Quali
About
was nothing crazy happening in quali. The only note, let me see if I have anything else. I really think the only note I took was that Max got that impeding. They were on a slow lap, but George was going quick behind him, and Max did not get out of the way or just took up too much of the road. So he was hit with a 1-place grid penalty. And I honestly think, I just think we should kind of get out of the way, like before we get into because we have a lot of stuff to get through. Let's talk about Russell. I think
George
first.
Russell?
Yeah, George Russell.
All right. What
So-
exactly? There's a lot.
There's a lot. I mean, let's just talk about
P4, good for you,
Russell.
George.
Yeah, I mean,
work.
Yeah, good work.
Good pace all weekend.
There was some. Okay, There was a lot of noise kind of coming from Verstappen about
There was.
how much George was pushing for that penalty to be placed, like how much he was pushing. But outside of that steward's room, to the cameras, he was saying, "I don't care what happens, it's fine." So I think Max is angry that George is being a little two-faced.
Yeah.
Versus the fact that he went so hard in the penalty, which I guess I can kind of see.
But he wasn't the only one. Somebody else.
It was
it Alonso?
It was Alonso, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I thought somebody else came out and said like, "Well, George is a little bit different person in front of the cameras than behind closed doors."
Yeah.
type deal. I mean, which you could argue. Like,
Makes
so
sense.
am I.
You can
I'm a super
argue
nice
that,
guy off the
right?
camp.
Everyone has a PR team. Every driver is a PR team. It's just, I think there's a much more stark difference. And Max, I think I would argue Max is the same person on and off camera. I think he's probably proved that a
for
couple
sure,
times. So
for sure.
maybe
I
he
think
just
so.
doesn't love that coming up. Love the opposite coming from other drivers. But we had that. We had a lot of that. And at first, I was like, Max is calling him out for pushing so hard, but Red Bull's been in the exact same position against Mercedes before,
For sure.
like 100%. But what pushed me the extra mile was the fact that he was complaining about the McLaren team, and I was like, okay, maybe Russell is kind of going a little too far.
I think he's taking ownership of being, transitioning into being that number one driver of an F1 team, but he's taking the wrong characteristics.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like he is complaining a lot more the last couple weeks. You've seen it this week though, specifically, excuse me. You know what I mean? So, oh God.
Yeah. What is your take? Like, just
at what 2-3 weeks ago, maybe I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna hop on Mercedes bandwagon next year while I wait for Cadillac to join in 2026. And obviously, Gasly fan, but not gonna happen. No way. Not after that action. And like he's gonna be their number one driver. And like I like Toto, but just too much going on. He's starting to surround himself with too much drama going the wrong way. Kind of like how Lando started doing midway through the season. I'm not comparing the two, so.
No, I get it.
Sock me.
I get it.
McLaren fan.
I definitely recall, everyone kind of pointing out how his attitude kind of shifted a bit,
But it's been quiet in that front lately.
for a while.
I mean, and there's always the possibility too that this could be like maybe it was just a bad weekend. Maybe he got some bad news. Like his dog was sick or something. I don't know. So like, you don't know. Maybe it's just a rough weekend for him, and he comes back next weekend like, hey, yeah, I was being a bit of a bloke. That's my bad. Like, I'm gonna do better going forward. Like, there's always possibilities. So I think like he's walking on eggshells right now, and I think if he keeps acting like this,
Why
then,
do you think he's walking on eggshells right now?
because there's a lot of people who are upset with him. There's a lot of people who don't like the way he acted over the weekend, and like the things that he did, and like the impeding thing with Max is like whatever. I can get over that. It's like if you watch any qualifying session, and I swear I hear impeding every weekend. So like. It happens. I'm not upset about that. But
well, everybody's gonna cry and moan about
wherever they can.
every single
especially
driver,
in
and they
quali.
should. Yeah.
It's an important time. Like
Yep.
every second counts.
Yep.
I don't know.
You got to play the game on and off track. You have to.
Where is George in the driver standings right now? Do you have that pulled up?
I do.
Joe? Where's
He
George
is
in there?
currently sitting in 6th. He is 235. I think he's staying in 6th. I don't think he can move up or down right now.
Yep.
Or down.
No. Lewis is behind him 20 so points away, so I don't think that's gonna
that's
happen.
respectable.
Yeah.
Who's above him then? Who's in
Signs at 272. So that's about 35 points away. So yeah, I think he's staying in 6th.
So that's 6. So we got what? Max and both McLarens and both Ferraris in front of him then.
Max, Lando, Charles, Oscar, Carlos.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's all I gotta say about George. I mean, there's really not much else to say other than like what you said, Mike. Hopefully, he kind of bounces back next week, and like he doesn't even need to come out and apologize for whatever or nothing. But like, you got to be a little bit more likable being that number one driver. I mean, just for PR stuff.
Yeah. Especially if you
it's
are
all
the number
money
one
for
driver.
F1.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Especially if you are the number one driver. Like, you start becoming the face of your team, right? Like, imagine if Lewis Hamilton did this stuff. Like, people would be like, well, what the heck, man? You're the face of Mercedes.
Yeah, and this is dumb to say because they're adults, right? Kimmy's an adult. He's going to be, what, 20, I think, next year? Or is he as young as 18?
He's going to be 19.
I think he's going to be 19, yeah.
Like, he's setting the example of how to be, at that next level at F1. But I don't know. He doesn't have the leadership qualities yet. I guess we'll see if those develop in the offseason.
Maybe. Hopefully.
But,
yeah.
You'd think he would have learned a little bit more from Lewis.
Well,
at the same time, he didn't come out touting the stuff that he was saying. Like, Max kind of aired his dirty laundry a little bit. So you just got to be careful in general.
Yeah.
Yeah,
fair point.
But speaking of Lewis, do we start talking about some of these penalties that
I think we
happened?
have to.
And Lewis's wasn't even crazy, so I don't want to paint him as a bad guy to start off. I'm just going to read through the penalties, and then we can kind of talk about the incidents that brought up those penalties, which all happened within, the first lap?
A handful of them.
At least a good chunk of them.
A handful. Sure.
So Hamilton with the jump start gets a 5-second. Hamilton again speeding in the pit lane, so that's just a drive-through penalty. Then we got Lando. This one's pretty big. Ignoring the yellow flag, and you could kind of see him when they started replaying the yellow flags. You could see Lando absolutely not letting off at all.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it's a safety thing. I mean, you're on the racetrack, you know what I mean? But he was definitely trying to gain some sort of advantage, and I don't know if it was like he owned up to it after the race, but I don't know why. Like, you've been doing this all year. Like, why now? You know, why are you trying to get away with it? And it was like every yellow though too.
Right.
I mean, do we want to get into it?
Yes.
Okay. First,
10-second stop and go
well,
as well. It's just crazy. Or do
yeah,
you
I'm
want me to
trying to
finish?
think. Let's just quickly finish because I don't know if we're gonna have as much to talk about the other ones, like to dive into. Let's
fair.
finish. Let's just like kind of go over. Let's set the scene on how many penalties we had, and then I'll kind
Fair
of
enough.
dive in.
Fair enough. So Lando gets the 10-second stop and go, which I think doesn't he have to do that
He
right
has to do
away?
within 3 laps.
Yeah, within
three
three
laps.
laps,
Okay, I thought it was 2. Within 3 laps, and then he also gets 3 penalty points against his what is it, super license. Then we got Stroll collision with Albon with what a surprise, 10 seconds, 2 penalty points. How many? God, is there a penalty point tracker? There's got to be out
Yeah,
there. I wonder
yeah,
how
you
many
can-
Strolls got on there.
Yeah,
but
you can look it up.
Liam collision with Bottas, 10 seconds, and also 2 penalty points. Albon collision with K-Meg, 10 seconds and 2 penalty points. George safety car infringement, 5 seconds and 1 penalty point. Let's go back to Lando though. Are you finding it? Did you find something that gave it?
I do have a list of penalty points. Stroll has 4 currently, so not a ton.
okay.
Alonso currently has 8. He's the highest at the moment.
He's not.
Interesting.
He'll be fine because it resets after 12
Max has
months.
6 right behind him.
Well, yeah, that's a given.
I do want to bring one thing up really quickly with the Lando thing. Just air this out right away. I think you and I feel the same way about this. Should have never happened.
What do you
Because
mean?
I
Okay,
think
yes.
Whoa.
I
What do you mean?
think
What shouldn't
that
have happened?
this shouldn't have been a yellow flag to begin with. We should have been in a safety car. There should have been a safety
okay.
car as soon as that mirror came off.
Yes, I
Throw out a safety
agree
car,
with that.
maybe a lap to see if maybe we can get some people out and just go snag it real quick. 1 lap done, get a safety car out there.
'Cause
We
we-
need to get that off. That's a safety concern, and it can ruin people's races.
And we
which
saw
it
it.
did.
saw.
We
And
saw
it
it.
did.
We
It
saw.
ruined a bunch of people's races, and Bottas still somehow managed to grab points, which
mean,
is
great
pure
for him.
insanity.
Amazing.
Because wasn't he the one that ran it over completely and
He was.
shattered
He
it
was,
into a
yep.
million
Yeah.
pieces, and then what? Lewis had a
Sainz
piece
and
stuck
Lewis.
underneath him, and
Yep.
Carlos.
Yep.
Like that's just unacceptable.
Yep.
And it was out there for what, 5 laps?
Something like
Yeah.
that.
You know, before it got ran over.
Before finally we sent out the safety car to go clean it up. Like, so yes, I don't think there should have been yellow flags to begin with for him to speed. Now, I feel like he probably knew that too, and maybe that's some of his reasoning for like why are we even bothering to slow down if it's like. So I don't.
That's
know.
a really bad time to make a
It's a
statement,
bad.
though.
Yeah, it is. I agree, but like. So that's my like hot, not so hot take, lukewarm take on that.
Lukewarm.
I'm wearing the McLaren hat, right?
You are.
So
I think so.
I will note, just to kind of talk on the video that was shown of him breaking the rule. I don't know if this is when he was supposed to let off, or he was supposed to let off the lap after, but it showed the yellow flag blinking right as he crossed it. So it was off until he crossed that point, and then it started blinking. And they're saying that that's when he got hit with it.
Really?
I don't know if
'Cause
that's
he
the
did
truth.
it other times in the
I
race. though.
that's
my part.
kind of what I was thinking. That's
You
what
know,
I
like,
thought
maybe
it
that
happened.
was, like, the last
But then
straw.
F1, like the F1 the F1 official Instagram posted that as being the reason he got the penalty. So I was like,
okay,
okay,
that I
that
don't
sucks.
like. Yeah,
that
that I
sucks.
don't
If that's
like.
the case, again, he deserves a penalty. A 10-second stop and go penalty is probably one of the, besides being
pretty
just
wild.
thrown out of the race, that is probably the most, like the worst penalty you can get.
Is that the
strictest.
first stop and go we saw this season?
I think so.
I feel like
I'm
it
not
is,
sure,
'cause
but
I
it's-
feel like I've not seen very
Yeah,
many
it's
of them.
it's a crazy penalty. To watch him go from second to last broke my heart. Like that was the worst.
Well,
that felt awful.
A 10-second stop and go is in Qatar was what, like a 36-second
Yeah, 36
penalty.
seconds. Yeah.
So like 36 seconds that kills your race.
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
100%.
His race was over. So it was disheartening to see that. This was about the time that I left the room and I had to cool down a little bit because it was just. But so this is all in real life. Yes, he deserved a penalty. Did he deserve a 10-second stop and go? I don't think so. What was he actually speeding? Through the yellow flag when he had time to see the yellow flag? I don't know for sure.
Sounds like you don't know a lot, Joe.
I don't know a lot. That's true. Also, Max Verstappen got a fastest lap during one of those yellow flags. I don't know. Right?
What?
There's a lot of
Wait,
What?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
He did. He got it.
Really?
He posted a fastest lap. No, there is a possibility he went really fast in sector 2 and 3. very much a possibility he could have done that.
But to get fastest lap with nah.
Why do you think I left the room, dog? I was so, oh man, it made me so angry. I was like, check his, check
Why,
the tapes.
why are we not calling him out?
Check the recordings,
Especially
right?
with all the technology F1 has.
I mean, and then Lando started pulling back because he really didn't want to get another infringement. He lost like 2 seconds to Max during that.
Yeah.
Okay. This is all real life. That is my ideas. Now, I 1,000% agree with you. Safety car should have happened. There should not have been a yellow flag right when that wing came out. Maybe let a lap pass to see if something happened. No.
Nothing's going to happen.
It's
It's in the middle of a straight. DRS straight.
It's
right?
a middle of the DRS straight.
Zone, and then if somebody goes to pass, it's gonna exactly what happened will happen.
It's not on the racing line, but it is in the overtaking spot.
Yeah,
so you
100%.
just kill the racing pretty much for the entire lap because that's one of the only places you can really overtake someone.
And you can't see that. I mean, when you're going
You
mock,
can't.
mock Jesus
Bottas
down
just
the, you know what I mean?
Bottas just ran over it. So there should have been a virtual safety car and then a safety car, so they could have gotten someone out. They obviously could not throw someone onto the track while they were racing.
It seemed like they were really contemplating that.
They were talking
about
it.
Run
they
out there
were like, we can see the marshals ready to run out there and do it, but they cannot do it
They
unless
should
there is
not.
a safety car.
No, they should not. I mean,
and
it
so
is a safety
that
from
part
the
is a
get go,
safety thing.
from the get go, you do that. Lando doesn't get the penalty, which obviously is just yay for me. But more importantly, Sainz doesn't get a puncture and Lewis doesn't get a puncture.
Yeah, no,
Also
that was-
hindering their races by a ton.
I can't believe Lewis made it back.
Well, there's
Lewis was so upset. Well, I want to talk more about Lewis later as well, but it was, man, it was just a bad day to be me. I don't. It's just
a good
watching
day for
my two favorite favorite teams just kind of crumble. From a single misstep from the FIA. And then to kind of continue on with the amount of penalties that were being given out, did the news race director just have a button that he pressed for a penalty button?
Dude, it was
10 seconds.
it was
10
every
seconds.
I made a
it
joke.
was almost every 10 seconds. There's
pretty
a
much.
notification.
There's another
This
notification.
incident is being looked at. This incident has now been.
We went from Vegas,
oh
which
my
is
God.
relatively chill, to this, which was insanity in terms of the FIA stepping
different
in.
race director.
I think it was the same race director
the same
between
race
races,
Well,
was it not?
Vegas was the same
yes.
one. The other one left right before Vegas.
Yes.
Like I don't know if it was in the weekend.
So this
or
new
right
race
before the
director,
weekend,
yep, this new race director just went ham.
Crazy.
He went crazy. I made a joke during the race that I think this race director has a button just to give penalties to all of my predictions this
we'll
week.
talk about
It was-
the race director
yeah.
in the news. There was some interesting stuff with him.
The you were saying like all
take a
the
breath,
drivers,
Joe.
all the drivers who had things ruined. So my team, right? I got the hat. I got the hat.
I
this
see
week.
that. It's a lot easier to get in this country than Alpine hat.
Yeah,
I'll tell you
really.
that.
Yeah, I believe it. So my team, they went out that first lap. They took one lap in the yellow flag, and we're like, okay, there's going to be a safety car. So they pit Kevin. Well, I think he was in 6th. And they pit Kevin because they were anticipating the safety car. So they get him in right then and there. Safety car goes out. They come out, and then they've got a good opportunity. It's a great time for them to pit. But because they waited 3 more laps for a safety car until there was debris and we had 2 punctures, then because of that, now Kevin's in the back and all those people who were in front of him could pit safely. And now this, hurt his chances. He still got up to 9th, I believe. And so, not a terrible race for him, but he could have done better. And it was just because my team was thinking that the stewards were going to make a rational call, and they didn't. His race also was affected.
Yeah.
Amidst other teams that also pit at the exact same time under the same pretense. So,
How do you think Haas is going to finish out next week?
oh God.
I know we're not in the preview section. I'm just curious since you're a Haas fan. I just got to know.
It's one of the bigger fights.
No, we gotta wait.
We
We
wait.
gotta wait.
We'll
because-
wait.
because
I
stew
I'm
on
gonna
it, though.
I'm gonna talk about it.
I'll ask
stew
you.
on it.
I've
I'll
thought
ask
about
you
it.
again once we get to constructor standings.
ready.
just
I've thought
because they
about
got
it.
a really good opportunity that they just let
Oh, trust me.
lapse this weekend.
I've thought
I know
about
I don't
it.
got to tell you, but but no. Let's talk about that first lap really quick. The couple incidents that happened there.
Crazy.
Just pure insanity. I mean, what was it determined that? Hold on here. Well, let me look at the penalties again.
So it was Nico, Franco, and Ocon.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
Franco and-
Colapinto.
Was it Franco and Ocon that collided? Yeah.
That's
no,
all-
Nico
that's all
hit
I'm pulling up.
someone. Right?
Nico had understeer, so he spun and hit
Which-
I think Albon, and Albon crashed into into Colapinto, and the two of them just took their tires off and went off.
No, it was Ocon.
It was Ocon.
Oh, it was
yeah.
Ocon.
I was
Was it
gonna
Ocon?
say,
Okay,
yeah.
it was Ocon. Yeah.
But you're right. He did have a little bit of
Ocon and
understeering, which seemed to be a problem for multiple drivers this race.
Especially on the hards.
Multiple drivers.
The hards were
nobody liked the
struggling.
hards.
Nobody liked the hards, and the
Another
softs
George
went
incident.
like this.
Yep.
He
Yeah.
freaked out when he's driving away and they realize that they put hards back on. He's like, "What the?
Why are we
What
doing
words
hards?"
that we're not
Yeah.
gonna say right now?" But he was freaking out about that. But yeah, it was Hulk into Ocon, who then hit. Was that Albon, or who was?
Hulk into
It
Ocon,
was
who hit
Colapinto.
Franco. Yeah.
Oh, Colapinto.
So
yeah,
Franco
yeah.
and Ocon, I think they retire immediately.
Yep.
Yep. Dude, Colapinto.
And somehow Nico just limped it to the pit.
And again, like this one's not Colapinto's fault per se, right? Obviously, but dude, you got to start not crashing.
man.
You know what I
You
mean?
gotta
Like,
start not crashing.
I said I had a fun fact about Williams. I found out earlier they have one win allocated between the two drivers left for Abu Dhabi. So if both drivers break a win, then they just got to drive.
This is
on
for
it.
who?
Williams. So Williams has one win left for this last race.
So if Franco crashes and breaks the rear wing, they just can't race Franco.
No,
right?
front wing.
Front wing. Okay,
Yeah,
so
front wing.
even worse.
Even worse. Yep.
Yeah.
So if both drivers manage to damage their front wings, one of them has to continue driving with a broken front wing.
Or they
They
retire.
have,
Or they
so
retire.
they have no front wings left coming into Abu Dhabi.
No, they
No,
have
we're-
one. They have one.
They have one replacement
spare.
wing.
One replacement wing. Yes,
Okay.
one
One
replacement
and that's
Okay.
for each driver.
for each truck.
Yeah, that's bad.
To share between the two
That's-
drivers.
that's
No,
One
to
really
wing-
share
bad.
between
to
the two
share
drivers.
between the
yeah,
each.
yeah.
That's
Yep.
that's rough.
Yeah, they are down.
That's
I'd be
rough.
like, hey, Franco, buddy, here's the deal. You damage that wing, that's on you. We're gonna save the good one.
It's him and Albon. Albon's had plenty of crashes this season too,
He
and
has,
of course there's
but-
Logan too all season. Logan had found the barrier more than he found the checkered flag, but
More than the pavement almost.
Yeah, they better hope they don't
Jeez.
they don't destroy it during destroy it beyond repair during
Quali or
quali
something. That's
or
what
practice.
I'm worried about.
Because if that happens, then it's just like, well, your weekend's done,
well, your
like,
weekend's
more or
done.
less. Yeah.
Oh, that would suck, man. Imagine losing your weekend before you can even.
I
get into
imagine
the
whoever
race.
breaks it will get the replacement, but then that's it.
That's
right?
it,
So,
yep.
yeah, that's interesting. That's horrible. I mean, that's a Williams spot to be
That's
in
a
if it's ever
Williams
been
spot to
one.
be
Am I
in.
right?
Yep.
Am I right, guys?
That's where they
Guys?
live.
That's true.
Guys,
On replacement
guys.
parts.
So that was lap 1.
Yep.
Lap 5.
We resumed racing. Yep.
We were racing lap 5, but we had Liam. I don't know if he just lost it a little bit or ended up somehow getting involved with Bottas.
Yes.
Bottas didn't seem to get a bunch of damage off that, but just another random Liam moment, not Liam.
That's where he gets his 10-second.
Yep.
Liam is.
Not
We'll
impressive.
talk about it in news, but Liam has an opportunity, and he is not impressing right now. Just not. He's making a bunch of rookie mistakes, stuff that you can't be making at this point. Yes, I know he hasn't had a ton of opportunity necessarily at the F1 level, but you got to be making the most of your chances here. And
Yeah.
you finished. Yes, it's only one spot, but you did finish behind Yuki this week, which
Yeah.
sucks for our bonus points, by the way.
It does.
But
well,
only
not
two
yours.
leaders. I said Checo.
Yeah.
I don't get bonus points for that.
Checo finished. Oh, that's right. He did it.
He didn't even finish. Actually,
Oh, that's right. The guys who were already in. I forgot. Yeah, that
yeah,
makes. I'm in a bad
unbelievable.
mood.
By the way, just yeah. I know. Sorry, I didn't want to.
You're right. No, it's okay. You're right though. Lawson. Yeah, he needs to be proving something. And granted, Yuki and Lawson had. I think in totality, neither of them had a great race. But I guess at least they kind of finished close.
God, I really
it's
want to
make it or
get to
break it right
constructor
now.
standings. We'll just get through the race.
We'll get through
here,
it.
'cause
I will say really quick, just to kind of go before. I'm sorry, we're going back in time during the race, but you guys
fine.
were mentioning Albon a couple times.
Yeah.
Lance did cut into Albon and spun him off before the safety car as well. This happened,
yeah,
I
that
think,
did
on corner 2. Stroll got a penalty, so that's why we thought Albon was involved. He was
Yep.
involved in the separate crash. On the
Oh yeah.
same
okay.
lap.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, just wanted to cut that back there really quick. Just Stroll doing Stroll things. Did
Stroll-
he end up?
Stroll
He ended up
strolling.
retiring as well.
Yes.
Yes, he
Yeah,
did.
He did. Okay.
Yes, he did. Now was it his? No, it was Lewis that they were like.
And then Lewis, yeah, they
that
reviewed Lewis.
requested retiring, and they were like, "No, stay out."
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
And
my
Lewis was
gosh.
like, "Nah."
Yeah.
Bro, that was so disheartening to hear. He is so
He's
over
so
this
done.
car, man.
Yeah, he's done. He's done with it.
Commentators were talking about him wanting to not race in in Abu Dhabi.
I don't blame him though.
I don't blame him either, and I think
But I think you got to do one more, right? For your Mercedes fans that have been there, you think, or do you think that's not even a factor for him right now?
I think he's
It's
so
just like,
over it, and he also I think
And
if
with
he,
the bad luck of this race, running over the piece of mirror, like, come on.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's so rough. If he were to not race for Mercedes, I think he gets to test in the Ferrari. I think all of those have been dispelled. He is definitely racing in the Mercedes, but
Yep.
he sounded
No, he can't test then.
Yeah, he
if
can.
he's racing
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
Mercedes,
yeah.
because somebody
He'll
else I
be-
thought couldn't.
If I'm
Like
not
Ocon
mistaken,
can test now because he's been
Yes.
technically released by Alpine, so
Yeah.
now he can test in the Haas.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't think Lewis can test in the
But-
Ferrari yet,
no.
right?
If he's racing if he's racing the Mercedes, I don't think he can. I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
That's just my logic. If this thing happened on this team, so this thing must be true on this team.
Sure.
I think that's the case.
if I'm not mistaken, they have like the driver tests for drivers who are going to different teams and whatnot, new drivers that are signing and whatnot. And I think that's after Abu Dhabi. That's next
Yeah, like a
Tuesday.
like a season
They
end
got-
test.
Yeah, they got like a season end test where like we'll get to see all the drivers in their new jumpsuits and everything, and like we'll get to see them test out the cars and whatnot. And I think I heard that was supposed to happen next Tuesday, so a week from today.
Okay, fair enough. Looking back here, we've talked about Red Bull. We'll talk about Checo in a little bit. Ferrari, I guess we haven't really talked about Ferrari yet this race. I mean, P2, you can't be too mad there, but
I mean,
Carlos again with the whole mirror incident. I mean, it could have been better. Who knows?
It could have been better. I will say he recovered very nicely. He still got a decent
About
placement.
as good as you can with going through
Exactly. He would have placed better, for sure, if that hadn't happened, obviously. But he still recovered incredibly well. And then Charles just had a very consistent race, and he deserves the place he got. So Lando got that penalty, threw him back. So he was able to
advantage. I mean,
capitalize.
yeah,
he was able to
capitalized on
capitalize.
it.
That's the
Yep.
word I was trying to look for.
There it is.
Got there.
Capitalize.
We got
Still in
Capitalize.
shambles, guys.
Capitalize. We'll talk about Ferrari also here in a little bit, but going down the list here, we've talked about McLaren, mentioned a little bit of Mercedes action, Alpine, Gasly getting that P5. Obviously, Ocon retired, but my guy Gasly getting P5. I mean, yes, there's the Lando thing, but it's P5, buddy.
It is. Man,
And
I'm
he's
devastated.
outscored Lando in the last 3 races,
Yeah, that was
27 to 26.
I love it. What a statistic.
That won't be the same stat next week, but I'm just saying.
I mean,
Maybe though, right?
While we're talking about
And now they're going to a Merc engine next year.
Mercedes and
Great.
yep. I mean, probably for the best.
Yeah, oh, it's
I
100%
think
get
it's
rid
still
of
better.
get rid of
It's
that
fine. It's
Renault
fine.
engine. That's we're talking about drivers who are outscoring people now. Officially on the drivers' championship, Bottas is ahead of Liam Lawson.
oh, whoa.
Yeah, think about that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that is
A team not expected to score points probably ever this year, honestly.
because they have
But-
the same amount of points, but Bottas has a higher finish.
Yeah.
So
Does Bottas have all 4 of Kick's points, or
Wait,
didn't Joe get?
No, Zhou.
No,
get
wait,
one or
no,
two?
guys. Bottas didn't score points this week.
oh, sorry.
Oh, Joe.
Sorry, I'm thinking of Zhou.
Oh,
Sorry,
wow.
Zhou.
We're
No, you
we're
said it
really
earlier as
screwed up.
well.
I did say
I was
it.
like,
I did say
like,
it.
oh, maybe I'm forgetting.
I'm just
that he
thinking the
did.
green
Yeah.
You know
dot.
what?
No,
This is your fault. You're gaslighting.
Bottas is
I
not going to.
am
Bottas
gaslighting.
is
You're welcome.
Unfortunately, Bottas is not going to get points this
No.
season. I'm saying that ahead
He's-
of Abu Dhabi because I don't think Abu Dhabi permits enough of like something to happen.
No.
Not for
unfortunately.
Kick.
Yeah, not for
No.
kick.
No.
But I mean, his teammate Joe.
But Joe, so that was it. Joe is ahead of Liam Lawson
Yeah.
now. That's what it was.
He is, yep.
Now, Bottas is no longer at the bottom of the standings anymore because of his finish.
He's
But
not. No.
He's
What about
he's ahead of Logan
what
Sargent.
about-
he's ahead of
20
Logan
seconds.
Sargent.
What about Joe to
Weird.
Cadillac?
That is something that's
Someday.
been talked
Help
about.
pump some money into the new team. Have Danny Ric be the PR guy.
Maybe.
Maybe.
That'd be.
I still think
interesting
we
pairing.
haven't seen Joe at his prime because of the car he was given.
I agree.
Oh, for
I would
sure.
like to think he's better than he is, but we'll just
until
we won't know,
he gets
you know?
another seat. And when is he going to get that opportunity?
We saw a pretty good drive out of him this weekend.
It was like I call it like it was
He's
consistent.
He's
you
had
know?
a few
Yeah.
good drives this season.
Yeah.
He did not mess up, which is all you can ask for.
Right.
In a kick. So
Right. He made it across the
Also-
finish line. All right.
Very small tangent that I thought up because of like Pierre is P5 and how we've been seeing him get all these points recently was the thought of if Pierre was in a Red Bull or a McLaren or like a championship winning car, is he WDC
ripping my heart out here, fam, because
Comparable.
No, I think he'd be a really good number 2 driver at a high level team like a Red Bull, Mercedes, or Ferrari or McLaren. But I would hope so. Yeah, I would love that. That would be awesome. It's like when he won. That was insanity. But I don't know. I think he'd be a very competitive number 2 driver.
Oh, for sure.
You know, a Bottas to a Hamilton type of situation. But I don't know if he's got enough to get that WDC.
He's super consistent. I found out that he has cost Alpine $0 this year. He's like one of the few drivers on the grid who's cost his team basically no money.
He's the only
one.
Yeah,
He's the only driver on the grid.
Because he's just driving so clean. Like, sure, sometimes not great, but
or sometimes
clean.
Ocon
maybe just
flies over the top of him or something.
That can happen.
Stuff
That's
happens.
not his fault though.
Yeah.
I wonder if they went into a meeting or like start of the season like, listen, the car's going to be slow, so you guys need to not hit each other.
So please save us
like,
money.
Whatever you do.
So they proceed by
Don't
hitting
fight.
each other.
Yeah.
No. Let's talk about those standings.
Oh man, we're already in standings.
Before
yeah.
we head into news, McLaren sitting at the top of 640, Ferrari sitting at 619. Who's gonna do it, fellas? I mean, yes, McLaren's got the good shot right now, but I mean, arguably, if Carlos doesn't run over the mirror, I don't know. Who knows?
mean,
it could look a little bit different right now. The sprint could look a little bit different right now if things went a different way.
It's worth noting that I believe I've heard that McLaren has struggled in Abu Dhabi in the past. You can correct me, Mr. McLaren boy, but I believe
Mr. McLaren.
I believe McLaren has struggled in Abu Dhabi in the past. And if that is the case, and Ferrari has been pretty good in Abu Dhabi in the past, not the best. I think Mercedes has been archetypically the best, and Red Bull.
Mercedes has been
recent years.
pretty good.
You're really
And Red
beating
Bull,
around
Red
the
Bull.
bush here for the answer. Don't it?
So-
Who's going to take it for you? Right now,
they
on the
both-
seat. Who's taking constructors after this week?
I still think it's McLaren.
It's definitely McLaren, I think.
You don't think
they
Ferrari
have to.
can do
Ferrari has to do a lot.
that much? I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, they seriously need one of the McLarens to, like, DNF.
So
That's their best bet.
I have the answer for that. Like the minimum that they need.
Yeah, lay it on us.
If Ferrari get 1 and 2, one of the McLarens can get 3rd, but the other McLaren has to get below 6th.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, and that's if the Ferrari's 1 and 2, which is
That's
not
not-
going to happen.
That's
Unfortunately,
not. I mean,
Probably not.
Ferrari's getting 1-2 is probably not going to happen, but a McLaren finishing P6 is not that outlandish.
not horribly outlandish, but both of them finishing
Yeah,
that kind of low.
that's-
Okay,
that's
so
really tough.
now let's say Max wins and Ferrari has a great weekend, so they get 2-3. The highest that McLaren can get has to be 5th and 10th.
Yeah,
That's
tough.
not going to happen.
That's tough.
Ferrari literally has to 1-2
And then it just
to
keeps
even have a
going
chance.
down if Ferrari keep on kind of making it down as well. It's one if one Ferrari wins the race and the other doesn't finish in points,
It's over.
the McLarens need 9-10. So it's really really tough for them to make this up.
So yeah, they're making it a huge deal then, and it's
Yeah.
really not as
It's
big of a deal.
You know, you're right though. They aren't the best at this track. Last year proved that. However, they were not like the slowest team by any means. They were definitely doing better than what I'm kind of saying right now.
Yes.
But if McLaren is at the moment arguably favored to win a WDC next year with maybe Lando, maybe Oscar, I don't know. I'd assume Lando, right? But if they're potentially favored to do that, I mean, you got to be able to produce at all tracks at some point.
I've got a question for you guys.
Oh boy.
What is the fastest car on the grid right now?
Who?
I still think it's the McLaren.
Do you?
No.
So
you know what? Is it the Ferrari?
That's
Is- so
where,
is
that's
it
where
the-
I'm
is it
leaning
the
is the Ferrari,
tracks
but like
that are like not favoring the
George is
McLaren?
also really fast right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right.
So it's
like, are the tracks just not favoring McLaren, or maybe have they lost the edge they had mid-season a little bit? They're still fast, obviously. Obviously, they're still fast.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
But are they the fastest at this point? They're definitely close.
Yep.
I think the Ferrari and the Mercedes just coming out of nowhere as well, late season, like they did last season as well.
Yep.
It's
which again, like makes me think that they're not putting as much time into Lewis's car right now.
I think they
Because George's had a couple really fast
George is
weekends.
flying.
I thought I heard that because of like cost cap, that they're at a point where they're just putting all of their money and all of the upgrades into Russell's car and not into Lewis's car, and that's part of the reason we've seen Lewis so kind of defeated is because
Frustrated.
he knows that they're in the same car, but they're not in the same car. And they're doing this for Russell because they're not going to spend more time and parts in Lewis's car when they're not going to have him next year. Why would they work on that?
And I can't remember if it was Mercedes that I brought it up with, but a few weeks ago I said that potentially Lewis's car hadn't been upgraded since Miami. Was it Mercedes that I was saying that about? I can't remember. I'm not expecting you to remember.
I do remember you saying that. I can't remember what
team it was. It might not be, but
it's crazy to think of any of that happening.
It's crazy to think that
both
cars on any team could not be at the same level. You know what I mean? You would think, but
usually come in waves. Like maybe one weekend they have it early.
This one gets it this weekend, and then next weekend the second car gets that upgrade that weekend or whatever.
We know that that's happening though, because like Red Bull has openly stated the fact that they're like, we're not working on Checo's car for the rest of the season. They're like, Checo's car is where it's at.
Well, that makes sense.
That's where it is. We need to focus on Max because he's our point scorer. Like,
for sure.
So all of the upgrades and everything has been going into Max's car, and this has been for like I think the last 2 races now.
Yeah.
So like,
which now he's won.
Yeah.
So
clearly something's working.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So.
Which is crazy because we were just talking about how bad and how much of a drop Red Bull's had in their speed, their pace is so off, and now all of a sudden they're putting the upgrades all into Max, and now he's winning again. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. Who knows where Red Bull will be at the start of next season? We're kind of writing them off in a way, but they wrote themselves off last week.
I still think they're going to be relatively fast at the start of the season. At least
not according to them.
Not according to them, but
the other battle we have going on, Red Bull sitting there at third at 581, Mercedes 446, Aston at 92. Those are all pretty much locked in at this point.
Yeah, Red Bull confirmed cannot win constructors anymore. That was confirmed.
Officially, which is wild. But we have a kind of a tight race. V-Carb not so much, but we kind of have a tight race here.
V-Carb.
V-Carb.
They need some
them
points.
Not scoring any points in Qatar really hurt really hurt them. And let alone both just having a really rough race. But Alpine sitting at 59, Haas at 54. I mean, seriously have an opportunity there. And then V-Carb sitting at 46. Here, halfway through the season, this spot was V-Carb's, no doubt. I mean, Haas was there battling, but like I was like, no way anybody's catching V-Carb.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about Alpine potentially beating Haas even, who started out pretty strong.
So I'd love to pitch it to you with this.
Right.
Alpine has, I would say, arguably one driver who can score actually pretty decent points versus Haas's 2 driver who can score low points, but points nonetheless. So what's going to make the difference? And I also think you either get Gasly in one Haas or you get 2 Haas's or a single Haas. And
so I went kind of like you were just going through with championships. I was also looking at like what has to happen in Abu Dhabi, and it is, I regret, very doomy gloomy for me. It doesn't look good because in order to win this, we need to get 7th and 8th.
Yep.
Or
to beat Alpine.
With Alpine not getting any points.
Alpine not getting any points. Yeah. Actually, I think they could still get 10th, and we would still have it by 1 point.
Okay.
But
I think you're right.
Yeah, we would have it by 1 point. And the more realistic option, Nico needs to do 6th or better. Whew. And that is not unreasonable. Nico has had 6th once or twice, at least once.
You're going to need the Ferraris and the McLarens to really battle and create some carnage.
I need some people to crash.
You're right. Correct. I think you need Yuki to not finish in points to end the season. I have a feeling he's going to finish in points to end the season.
I could see Yuki.
He could be in the way.
Yeah.
You could have Alonso in the way.
I do want to point out too that Nico Hülkenberg has shown pace on this track in the past. Last year when the Haas was incredibly slow, Nico still got like 12th on this track with a very, very slow Haas.
And you have Jack Doohan in the car this weekend as well instead of Ocon.
That's something that I've thought about too. Is like, so they've got Pierre, who we know scores points.
We know who
good.
Could be in points after in this weekend.
I don't know why they got rid of Ocon for this last race, because Ocon is kind of a problem child and he has his issues, but he has scored points. And he is still a well-known driver. He does know this track. Like, if they want to make sure that they take 6th, why would you get rid of your other veteran driver to put in Doohan? Which is, he's almost assuredly not going to score points. If he does, maybe 10th.
Right. No, I would agree with that.
First, not only first drive of F1, but also at Abu Dhabi, where everybody's going to be driving crazy, especially Alpine, Haas, and VCarb, who are all fighting for 6th, right?
You make a really valid point. Why take out the driver when you are still battling for 6th place, and the difference between 6th and 7th is $13 million.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's at least a chunk that it should be be worth
And
it.
a chunk that they want, too.
And
like,
finishing
for sure.
6th, like again, me being me, putting Aston on their own tier.
Yeah.
I mean,
Basically, best
beating
of the
out
rest.
best of the rest. I mean,
Yeah.
that'd be huge for Alpine. It'd be huge for Haas.
Mhm.
I think there's plenty to play for here in that in the last race. I think they're going to be racing each other fairly hard.
Also, I hate the fact Pierre.
Especially K-Meg and Nico. This is their swan song.
Yeah,
for,
this is
for
their last
Haas.
race
You
for
know what I
Haas.
mean?
Right.
K-Meg, this could be it.
Right.
You think he's not going to go out with a blaze?
Oh,
Come
yeah.
on, come on! And he's got
Hopefully
and
not literally.
and his super points reset.
This
Come
just
on.
in. K-Mag takes 12 penalty points in Abu Dhabi.
Wow, that'd be crazy.
I
Maybe
don't know how he'd
possible.
have a car left. if
Yeah,
he's
he
getting
wouldn't.
12
He
points.
wouldn't. They'd be like, "But retire the car. You have no wheel." And he's like, "I'm going."
Driving Roman Grosjean's car.
To kind of jump back to Ocon just a little bit, to your point and your point, I mean, you're right. He's proven himself in the past, right? And to know that the fight is this close, it must really mean that Alpine they just don't have the faith in it, man. You know, like that's gotta suck to be this close into the best of the rest.
I think they're sick of having the same conversation. With them.
probably,
You know,
Probably.
and nothing's changing. It's like, dude.
and maybe
I
they're
feel like
maybe they're just focused as well. Like, I mean, I would hope that they want this place in constructors, but maybe they want to get Jack that extra experience as well, even if it is a
100%
single race.
and
but-
that's 100%. They want to get Jack that experience.
Yeah.
That's for sure part of it. You know, but we seriously got to move on. So let's head right into our news, Kev. And to start off our news real quick, Alpine Academy driver Abby Pulling wins the 2024 Academy Championship. As we continue to see more female drivers in the academies, who knows? We'll see our first one in F1 in the near future, I would imagine.
That'd be cool.
Checo, set to leave Red Bull at the end of the season. That we all thought he would at least finish the season out, or at least be given the end of the season. That's rather interesting. We'll circle back to that in a minute.
okay.
Ocon, I just wrote no race for you. Jack Doohan getting the start. Yeah, we know. The FIA president, what is his name? Mohammed. What's his last name? Starts with an S. Slayan, something like that.
I almost said it, but I'm gonna butcher it if I say it.
And that's why I was
Mohammed
not,
bin Salayem.
There you go. Salayan, yes. Salayim.
Salayim.
It's an M at the end. Yes, yes. A lot of interesting stuff between him and the drivers right now. George, kind of the spokesperson for whatever driver group it's called. I can't remember what it's called.
forget what it's called,
But he came out and said something along the lines of like, well, we should know when higher up management is leaving or whatever. And this guy pretty much came out and said like, well, you're a driver and we don't really tell you how to drive. So, you know what I mean? I was like, whoa. And after the
Kind of
race,
based.
and after
Kind
the-
of do
and
a
after
little.
the,
Okay, good point.
and after the race, he kind of came up to shake like Oscar's hand. Did you guys see that video, that short or whatever?
I just
where,
saw that today. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and Oscar just like literally just pushes him off. I'm like, whoa. So there's a lot of animosity there between the drivers and old FIA president. Thought that was wild.
Yeah, I don't think I'd read too much into that Oscar situation. It definitely
No,
was.
but it was
definitely was
interesting
him.
after this. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
it was definitely him putting himself in a position like he always does, just up front. And when
Oh, for
Oscar
sure.
wants to celebrate with
For
his
sure.
team,
Yeah.
and that's what he did. So he,
Yep.
he gave, he held his hand for a moment. He probably like the president probably wanted to talk to him or congratulate him, and Oscar wasn't having it. So
Yeah, and another thing he said was like, "Do we tell them what to have as their strategy?" Like he's just really reaching into the hat, you know what I mean? But Danny Ric rumblings already kind of circulating to Cadillac. I thought I saw something that he signed.
the first I heard of
signed
it,
with
I think.
Cadillac, and I was like, okay, that's fake. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the more and more I look it up, there is a couple little rumblings out there that it's heating up, if you will. But I mean, when do you think they sign those drivers? Like, are they going to sign them as early as 2025 to get them, with the team this early? Because you already know they're developing a car and been developing a car.
Yeah.
They have had to been.
they definitely, they definitely say who's racing for them sometime next year.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, you have to.
Yeah.
Dude, but earlier, later, doesn't matter.
They have a lot of
I
time.
would
you know?
imagine you'd want it as early as possible so you can start,
Prepping
start gaining.
stuff.
Yeah, start trying to get,
I'm
a
kind of
following.
expecting sometime around mid-season break.
I think that makes sense to
Okay,
me.
mid-season break. Yeah,
That
fair enough.
kind of checks out. It gives them time to sort things out, and also to give the driver pool time to settle down. who knows what's going to happen next season? You might see somebody like Albon gets super upset driving with signs because he doesn't get to be the big fish in the pond, and so Albon decides to leave and maybe go to Cadillac.
That is an interesting pairing.
It's crazy. It's just little things like that.
It's a crazy
can happen.
take.
Oh yeah, things like that can happen.
It's a crazy. I'm not gonna lie, to you, man.
It's
He's
crazy. So like, I can see why they'd want to wait a little while and see where things develop. You know.
Well, hear me out. Checo to Caddy.
I mean, actually, it's not the worst
Brings
idea.
a lot of money.
It's not the worst idea in the world. Yeah, it'd be.
But I mean, it'd be a
Jean.
weird look.
And that's probably
I
about
guess.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd be the number one. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But-
it just depends on who's driving with him.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be hard to really determine a number one.
So now though, somebody's got to take that Red Bull seat next year.
Yeah.
And right now, after last week, it's like, well, I don't know who that should be. Because Yuki and Liam both don't look like they. I mean, if you're going
It's
to give it
one
to
of-
one or the other, it's Yuki for me.
yeah. It's one of them. though.
Liam's just looking like he needs some more work at the, at the major leagues. So
Yeah, and this hasn't been confirmed, but it's all over the place that
it's all over.
And I think
Checo's done at the end of the
Isaac
season.
Hadjar almost spoiled himself saying that he was confirmed for next year.
in the V carb.
In the V carb.
Yep.
Like he was. Yeah, I
that
don't
wouldn't
think.
be that surprising if that's the move they decide to make.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I've
God,
not
but,
to
I mean,
toot my own horn, but I called it a mile
him and
away.
Liam
Right,
though.
right.
I mean,
He's-
I don't know.
I do also want to point out too, though, that Liam's contract was just for this season. It was just to finish out
Right,
this
he hasn't
season.
been confirmed for
He
next
hasn't been
season.
confirmed for next season.
I think they re-up them in a V
Yeah.
carb
I'm
because
sure
they
they
just
do.
they're. Well, wow! I was about to say something really wild. I was going to say they're really drinking Liam's Kool-Aid, but
The Liam
but,
Kool-Aid.
the,
was
the Liam Kool-Aid.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Not his personally.
You're right
no.
though. I mean,
There's
Liam-
something with Liam that Red Bull's just addicted to, and I think they're going to sign him at least for another 2 years in V carb, and then at that point, then I don't know. He's got to perform then at that
Yeah.
point.
and if the Red Bulls aren't, it's the fans. I think the fans like Liam more, if not as much as Red Bull. He's a driver. He has the
Why?
experience. Why? But why wouldn't you put him in a car?
Yeah, I'd give him a ride for a year or two, but yeah,
But
if he
to
doesn't
Red
perform,
Bull,
that's it.
yeah.
No, not
That's-
Red Bull though, but
Yuki
V
as
carb.
well.
Yeah.
It's
V carb, but like I think Yuki gets the nod to start 2025
and then they can just swap
if
him out.
Checo's
yeah.
out, and then see what happens. I don't know.
I mean, we could see. Dare I say it?
I don't think Checo would
Three-
take the V carb seat though.
No.
Two's
I
given.
think Checo's going into reserve. Like I don't think he's taking
Or
a
an
seat.
or retirement.
ambassadorial role.
Something like that.
Something like
I think he's still technically going to have to work for Red Bull for at least another year.
Yep.
Because he had a 1+1 and he hasn't even gotten to that first one yet. So I think he has to work.
It's true.
Yeah, he
Didn't even
has to
make
work
it.
for Red Bull in some capacity, or rather, he gets to work for Red Bull. So he's still going to rake in a bit of money, which is nice.
Yep.
I forget what. Oh yeah, but filling that seat. Oh, what I was going to say is, could we see for the first time ever a 3-seat driver swap next year? They test Yuki, doesn't work out. They test Liam, doesn't work
I don't
out.
think so.
They put Isaac in
That
there.
would make you.
That would be
that would
insane.
make you the joke though of F1.
Yes.
You go
That'd be
from
crazy.
4-time champion in a row to being the joke, or at least WDC champion in a row. I don't think.
I don't think that will
that'd be a
happen.
Good move at all.
That would be wild.
That would be wild, though.
But
I would give
it's
you
still
that,
possible we see them swap out if Yuki or Liam cannot cut it early.
for sure. With that, we got to head right into our preview of where are we going? Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi.
And of course, to start off our preview, we have our, I don't know, lack of a better title, I guess, Abu Dhabi preview by our Emmy Award winner, Joe.
That's
Go.
you.
I never got that Emmy.
That's you. You don't have
It's
it?
in the mail.
Oh,
It
it's
was
coming.
in the mail for a
in the
while.
mail.
It's
Yep.
coming. Well, it's it's going across the ocean.
Okay. All right. So, talking about Abu Dhabi, this year's Formula One Abu Dhabi name is Formula One Etihad Airways Abu Dhabi Grand Prix 2024 at the Yas Marina circuit. My fun fact for this circuit is Verstappen, Vettel, and Rosberg share their maiden WDC wins at the circuit.
Interesting.
Looking at last year, our starting grid was Max, Charles, and Oscar. Off the line, Oscar gets a handy start from third, leaving his teammate to defend from Russell, wheel to the next turn. Lando eventually keeping fourth with Lando, Charles, and Max ahead. with Oscar, Charles, and Max ahead. To the corner at the end of the straight, Charles fights Max, wheels almost touching, but Max is able to just stay ahead at the end of the short battle. Down the line, Max's teammate Checo makes a move for 9th position on Hamilton and sticks it on lap 3. Lap 4, Lando easily takes 3rd place from Oscar, no fight between the teammates. Russell eventually catches up to Oscar on lap 7 and attempts to overtake at the end of the 2nd DRS straight. He looks like he's about to take the place from Oscar, but he goes much wider. Oscar able to hold onto the inside line and keep the position. That fight continues into lap 11, where Russell attempts the same move in the same place, but is able to make it stick this time, getting in front of the McLaren before the turn where he failed before. Lando suffers a long pit in his fight for a podium and unfortunately loses position to Russell as they leave the pit. On the other side of the Mercedes garage, Hamilton picks up some minor wing damage as he bumps into the back of the locked-up Alpine in front of him. Perez continues his push up the grid on lap 25, making the move on Alonso for 6th. The 2 McLarens now ahead of him. 3 laps later, he makes the move on Oscar for 5th. Perez continues to find the true pace of the Red Bull, waking up and driving it as he makes the move for 4th on Lando. And at the apex of that corner, Lando turns into Perez, who either suffers understeer or attempts to push Lando off as he just doesn't turn enough at the apex, bumping one another, forcing Lando to drive through and run off and back on the track shortly after, leaving Perez on track behind him. Perez picks up a 5-second penalty for this. Lap 48, he attempts to overtake again and makes it stick on Lando. On lap 54, he makes his way into the podium, passing George and eventually passing Charles for 2nd place before his penalty is applied. Max crosses the line on lap 58, 16 seconds ahead of his teammate in 2nd, winning his 19th Grand Prix in a season. Our final was Verstappen, Leclerc, Russell, Perez, Norris, Piastri, Alonso, Tsunoda, Hamilton, and Stroll. So I said Perez a lot during this recap. Not going to see that this year.
I was just
That's
about to
not
say,
gonna
whoa,
happen.
Checo, top 3, buddy.
He definitely drove well last year, but if what you're saying is true and they haven't been upgrading his car, there's just no way.
There's no chance.
There's no way.
Yep.
No chance. I mean, yeah, I think it's pretty set in stone. We see McLaren win the constructors, not the WGC.
Likely.
But Ferrari will be close there behind.
Ferrari's gonna fight,
and I think we could still see Max win the freaking race. He's got good history at Abu Dhabi. I love racing that track actually.
It's really fun.
On the horrible video game.
It makes one of us.
What?
Oh, you do not
I
like
struggle-
Abu
I
Dhabi.
struggle
Oh, you
on
do
Abu
struggle
Dhabi.
on Abu Dhabi.
I've always
Yeah.
struggled on Abu Dhabi.
Fair enough.
I don't know why.
You don't talk about Abu Dhabi.
We don't talk about Abu Dhabi.
Joe. Well, actually, I got to start with the points. So Tyler right
Do
now.
we have to do that this week?
For
Maybe
sure.
we just skip it.
Nope, we got to do it. Tyler leading in points with 47. Cole right behind him with 46. So it's going to come down to it for those two heading into Abu Dhabi. Yours truly is sitting at 38, and Joe coming in at 36. Mike, you got 2, fam.
Hey, you know what?
That's
You
sick,
ain't gonna
bro.
be in last.
Hey, I'll take it.
Well,
I've
I think
already
we got to have
I'm
like
like
a
a-
5
I'm like an
race minimum,
asterisk
so I don't
on
think
that.
he counts.
I've already said in the group
So-
chat, if I beat you, I'm counting that as a win. I'm fighting I'm best of the rest right now. That's what I'm fighting for.
All right. Well, first we'll start with Mike. Who's winning this race, or who do you got on your podium? My bad.
Who's winning this
My
race?
bad.
It's
No,
gonna be
no.
Lewis,
Who's-
of course.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I am actually saying Lewis, Max, and Leclerc
In no particular order.
in maybe a particular order.
Oh, you do think Lewis
I do think Lewis could win
wins.
this race. Yeah, I think he's coming guns blazing, and like I said, he's really good on this track.
He wants to
and,
end his time with Mercedes with a
and
with a win.
Mercedes has been fast, so I think.
Well,
I think we
George
see,
has been fast.
George has been fast.
Lewis didn't look that bad.
Tinfoil,
this week, but-
Tinfoil hat, non-zero chance that they just go, George, just sit back. We're gonna let Lewis drive your car this weekend. It's
That's
his
not
last
gonna
weekend.
happen.
Let's
That's
just
not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen.
Tinfoil hat. We can take that off.
Yeah.
That's
but
crazy.
You can
I mean,
just
you're
throw it away.
It's true. He could win
could
it.
happen.
Hamilton did get 9th last year.
What's your point?
Tyler and Cole with the exact same podium. I don't know why they would do that.
Wait.
When Cole is 1 point behind, you know what I mean? You got to take a chance somewhere.
Yeah, right.
So Cole doesn't.
there's
Tyler
no-
wins it.
There's no chance for Cole. Let me double check, okay? Make sure I didn't read it wrong. But like George, Lando, Leclerc. Oh, I'm an idiot. George, Lando. Oh, I put Max in there. Tyler
to
put
sabotage
Max.
him.
Okay, so there it is.
Max on
Yeah,
the
I'm
brain.
trying to sabotage. Everybody needs to check this out because I'm obviously doing it wrong. Okay, Cole went George, Lando, Leclerc. Tyler went George, Lando, Max.
Okay, but that still means Tyler wins if he can only get 1 extra point.
Well, he could tie him if he
Could
gets
he?
a perfect.
Are they only 1 point apart?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so he could still tie. But I don't see. Yeah, there's really not a good chance to
So
win
Cole
there.
can't. Oh man, so they could just tie.
They could
That's
just
it.
tie, or Cole's gonna
Interesting.
lose on the last race. Joe. Oh wait, no. I guess I'll go.
Yeah, I'm gonna need you to go first.
Yep.
Crazy they both got George in there. I mean, it's not that crazy, but
George has been pretty quick.
he has been quick. I'm going. You know what? I think Lewis is also on the podium. I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I'm gonna go Lewis, Lando, Max.
Okay.
Okay, I'm 2 points behind you.
Correct. And I just went Lewis, Lando, Max.
So-
You should go Ferraris and McLaren.
Yeah, I should. I'm gonna go George. Man, I need 3 points to beat you. That sucks. But if I can tie you, I guess that's still kind of.
Now he's changing the stipulations to his moral
See?
victories.
Moving
I'm
the
not. Yeah, I'm
goalpost.
not. But I remember
Yeah,
earlier
move the
in the
goalpost.
season,
Hey,
I was like,
you stay in front of
I'm
Phil.
doing this based on what I. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm just trying to salvage anything I can.
He's trying to make it sound good in his head.
Yeah.
Yep. Right.
So Russell,
Just say
I
Oscar.
need 2 points to. Oh yeah, Oscar for sure. I
put
have to
Oscar
say
up there.
Oscar. Yeah, we'll say Oscar. And
Who else did you have on your podium?
that would tie us.
Max, Lando, and Lewis. So you would need to take like Carlos.
Take Leclerc.
I should take Leclerc. That's a good
Or
point. I'll take
Leclerc.
Leclerc.
Yeah,
Leclerc is likely going to be up there. I'm the crazy one for
This
putting
is
Lewis
not
on my podium.
100%.
He is crazy.
Like, come on.
He is
George,
crazy.
honestly,
man, last race magic.
George is probably the only one that I would have actually put on my podium if I wasn't trying to salvage points.
because the other two would have been the papayas.
it would have
right?
been Lando and
Well,
Max
Oscar.
probably.
Lando and who?
Max.
Max. Yeah.
Call me crazy. I don't think Lando's going to do great.
It's possible. I like I said, I think they're definitely on a downswing right now. Again, I don't know if it's because the others are just so fast or if it's just the track isn't good for them, but they're definitely not as good as midseason. And maybe they're just prepping for next year, and that's all I can really hope.
100%.
You know,
They're prepping
for
for
sure.
next
Yeah.
season. They're prepping to repeat as constructors champions.
we saw them during that sprint. Like,
and win a WDC.
Yeah.
End up win a WDC. I think they have a real chance at that. But don't worry. This
Fingers
might be the
crossed.
last race that we're previewing, but we got plenty coming in the off season
Yes, sir.
as we get ready for the 2025 season. But like always, thank you, Mike. Thanks for coming
Thanks,
this
Mike.
week.
Thank you for having me. Always
Hopefully,
fun.
you're a permanent guest next season
Maybe.
or
Maybe
this
we'll see.
off season. You know,
Maybe
what,
we'll
what-
see.
you know what? Whatever you want,
We're
Mike.
gonna
Whatever
see.
you want to do. Joe, as always, we'll be here next week. But
yeah, we'll be here.
But,
Thanks for having me, though.
yeah, thanks for being on.
Yeah.
We don't let him leave.
Yeah, he just lives here.
We just chain him.
And then, of course, Kev behind the camera and the computers making everything happen for
Thanks,
us.
Kev.
Don't forget to like,
Go.
comment, subscribe wherever you listen to the banner, whether that's YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. And we'll see you next week.
Don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe. Tune in next time for more Banter with the Boys.